Welcome, boys and girls, to our little shop of nerds. Here's your host, Mike. Hey, what's up?
And I'm Julia.
You guys should have seen it. He gave me a weird look.
What the fuck, Mike?
That's why I didn't tell you, because it was a surprise. Made it genuine.
Oh my
All right.
God.
You're wondering why I howled and did a weird fucking voice and even quoting something from Tales of the Crypt. Are you done laughing?
I'm done.
Okay. Why I quote that stuff? Well, it's getting that time of year again, which means it's October. October the 1st, to be exact. Which that means
Spooky season.
Halloween!
Well, Halloween's at the end of the month, but it's spooky season.
Halloween still!
Okay, it's Halloween.
I prefer Halloween than Christmas. Sorry to some y'all.
Well, I like, Halloween too, and then Christmas.
Yeah, but I wonder how pissed off I'd keep if I say how Mariah Carey's Christmas song sucks ass.
That does suck ass, but that's a conversation for another time.
Okay. Last week, since, like I said, it is the spooky season, we're going to talk about stuff for you can watch during October. Well, here's the thing. Me and Jules don't like horror movies at all.
I don't really like slasher movies or horror movies, so...
And that's also the thing that bothers me. Slasher should just be its own genre. It should not classified as horror.
I mean, it's classified as horror because of the subject material.
Well, that's either there or there. Like I say, you guys can watch horror films if you want. To me, I prefer the old classic 1940s horror, but we're not going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite movies and musicals all the time. Last week's hint was Feed Me Seymour.
And if you don't know what that means, or don't know what that's from anyways, it's from Little Shop of Horrors, which is actually where Mike got our name for our podcast from.
And like I said, it's my favorite movie / musical. And before we dive in, a little history about Little Shop of Horrors. One thing that I didn't know before when I watched the movie, like I've seen the musical so many times, but things I didn't know about was it was based on a movie before it was a musical. But what happened is it was based on the 1960 somewhere in the 60s film. It was a B horror film, means it wasn't good, and it's the same thing as the musical. No, killer plant eats people. But here's the thing. Jack Nicholson's in it as a little role, like a small time role.
And this one or the one from the 60s?
The 60s.
Okay.
The ones in the 60s, Jack Nicholson had a small time role in the movie, and he was playing the misogynistic.
Misogynistic. Is it the doctor?
No, it was the patient. Remember who liked to get his teeth drilled?
Oh, okay. So not misogynistic, the masochist.
Masochist, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, he played the masochist patient. But since we're not going to be talking about the 1960 film, we're going to talk about the 1980s film starring Rick Moranis.
It had Christopher Guest, which he did this movie, and then a year later he was in The Princess Bride. Christopher Guest was the guy that came in and was like, hey, he was the first customer that they had, and he just had like this smile on his face, and he's the one that like bought like $50 of roses. He's like, can you break 100? And they're like, no, we can't. He's like, then I guess I'm going to have to buy twice as much. So that was Christopher Guest. And then Steve Martin, which... He plays the doctor.
He plays the dentist who...
Yeah.
He likes to cause pain.
And I did not realize that was him until the end of the movie.
But one thing about that dentist, you kind of have like I'm like...
He kind of reminded me a little bit of Elvis Presley.
That, and also I was kind of thinking, I'm like, well, I know what group would like to have him as a leader.
What?
I said, I know what kind of group that think he would have him as a leader.
Yeah. I don't get it.
BDSM. Oh my god. Because think he likes to cause pain.
Yeah,
But then again, I don't know about the community. No judging for you guys.
I mean, he doesn't seem the type of person that would do aftercare afterwards. So, and you have to have aftercare.
That's a good point. But then again, he's not really nice.
Yeah.
He's really abusive towards Audrey.
Yeah, when we first meet Audrey, she has a black eye. And then later on, her arm is kind of like in a makeshift sling. Because apparently he broke her arm with some handcuffs.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. He laughs himself to death. By that, I mean, he's addicted to laughing gas. So he put this laughing gas thing on and turns it on, and
I mean, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
But then they also had Bill Murray was in it,
and he plays the masochist dentist patient.
Yeah, and then there was Steve Belushi.
Jim Belushi.
Jim Belushi. He was in there as well.
Then they have, and I forget her name. I think it's Trisha Campbell, who played the backup singers. You seen her on the How I My Wife and Kids, and also she did some other shows. And like I said, she's pretty funny too. But like I said, she was the backup singer.
Yeah, I did not like Audrey's voice.
I think everyone did.
How she could hit those high notes though when she sang with a voice like that, I don't know.
I think it's because it was just a fake voice. I think they wanted it, since it was going to be a funny, kind of like a funny horror comedy, they just decided to maybe do that.
See, now this was actually my first time ever watching Little Shop of Horrors.
What?
You know that.
I know, I just want to do that.
Yeah, it was actually my favorite time watching it. And I mean, I actually enjoyed it. So, yeah, it wasn't a bad film. I can understand why you like it.
Well, yeah, because I like the music. I like the music. I like the story. I even like how the director did it. And by the way, the guy who directed the musical movie is Frank Oz. If you don't know that name, look him up. He did work with Jim Henson, and pretty much he was on the Muppets with him.
I mean, that could explain why the plant was so
like a puppet.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, at least the plant didn't look like maybe at the beginning it looked like a puppet, but when it got bigger, you could tell it looked more like a plant than an actual felt puppet.
But what I'm saying is that you could tell that it wasn't like CGI. Well, I mean, they didn't really have CGI in the 80s anyways.
No.
So, I mean, but you can definitely tell that they used some sort of like puppetry for it.
And that's one thing I like about 80s movie is with sometimes like the makeup work be really good, the makeup work, the puppetry, the robotics, except for Jaws. We'll get that to later, but either way.
I've never seen that one either.
I read the book. It's okay.
So, anyways, if you guys are unfamiliar with Little Shop of Horrors, it's about this guy named Seymour who finds an alien plant, and he wants to use it to bring people into the shop so they can make some money. And then he finds out that the plant needs blood to survive, so then he starts giving the plant his blood. And then he realized that he couldn't do it anymore because he just couldn't. He's just not producing that much blood. And then eventually the plant's like, hey, you need to bring me like some human body, like a human body for me to eat. And so that's when he went to the dentist, because the dentist deserved to, in his eyes, die because of the way that he was treating his love interest, Audrey. And so the doctor did laugh himself to death. He brought the body back, and the plant actually made him chop it up into pieces so he could eat it. And his boss saw him. His boss ends up getting eaten.
Well, he told him, hey, What about this? If no one, I won't tell a soul. If you just leave and just tell me how I take care of the plant. And he was about to, but I don't know if he did it intentionally or it was just by accident. You know?
Like it's kind of hard to tell in that point, like whether the way that because I mean the boss was the dude was like backing up slowly, but I didn't really see Rick Moranis' character kind of like back, like trying to push him back towards the plant.
No, I think not. But hell, it's up to the interpretation.
Yeah, but the plant does eat him, and then it tries to eat Audrey. And then he saves Audrey, and they basically live happily ever after that. He does kill the plant. I was sitting there yelling at the screen that he just needed to burn down the building. But he ends up, like, electrocuting the plant and basically killing it. Though at the end, you did see one of its little spouts, or his little sprout still alive.
Yeah. Well, that's the ending we got. But I think there's a couple things I want to know before I want to tell you guys. There's actually an alternate ending to alternate scenes to the movie. Like how Audrey gets almost eaten and Seymour saves her. Well, in the original scene, she dies. And he feeds, and she told Seymour, "Feed me to the plant," because but he did, and Jim Belushi's character comes in, tells him, "Hey, we're going to do this and that to make Audrey 2s," and that was Audrey's two plan is to take over the world since it was an alien plant. And here's the thing: Seymour doesn't live either. He gets eaten, and the plant does take over the world. But something test audience didn't like it or something, so they had to change it.
Okay.
So, in my opinion, I like the one we got, Happily Ever After, but I do like the director's cut too.
See, so the song I really liked out of this whole entire movie was the duet between Seymour and Audrey. I think it was called Suddenly Seymour.
Yes, I really love that one, but that's like one of my favorites. But the other one is Feed Me Seymour, because it does have like a little rock tune to it, and it pretty much like you can tell how devilish the plant is trying to persuade Seymour.
Oh yeah, the plant was actually voiced by I think someone from a band, like a Motown band or something like that.
Yeah, he does have like a blues voice, and also he's a dude, and the guy who voices the plant is a dude. Because like you would think with the name of Audrey 2 is you think it would be a female voice, but it's actually a guy.
I'm actually gonna look up who did the voice for the plant.
All right, well, besides that song, I did like "I'll Be Your Dentist," even though it's a fucked up song, but
that was pretty fucked up.
Yeah, but I think I did really love Skid Row because that was a pretty good song, though.
Okay, so it was Levi Stubbs was actually the voice for the plant. And he was an R&B soul singer.
Mm-hmm.
His labels was Motown. I'm pretty sure he was actually part of a band, but I don't remember the name of the band off the top of my head. I'm trying to find it here. But yeah, he so if you guys listen to like old R&B, Four Tops was the name of the band. And they released a variety of Motown hit records during the 60s and 70s. So he was the voice for the plant.
And like I said, there's also the backup singers. The three singers who come in, sing the songs that are dressed up like Motown girls, and they do actually sound like they were working for Motown.
Well, I mean the movie takes place during the 60s, right?
Yeah, the 60s, you can tell from the cars, because they even mentioned JFK, so it does take place in the 60s.
Yeah. You can tell by the clothes, too, because top hat, or not top hats, but bowler hats and stuff like that. You could definitely tell that was supposed to be for the, takes place during the 60s. But, I mean, I really enjoyed it. There were a couple songs, though, that I've heard in Family Guy. So, I'm sitting there. The first one, I can't remember which one it was, but then the other one was Audrey, where she was talking about how she wanted a house and everything.
Oh, that's when, oh yeah, Somewhere That's Green.
Yeah.
That's where Herbert sings the Audrey's lines.
Yes, and that whole scene from Family Guy was animated exactly the same way as Audrey's scene was in Little Shop of Horrors. And I didn't even realize that movie or that part in Family Guy was from Little Shop of Horrors until I think I was watching like a Watch Mojo video or something like that, and I'm like, oh my god. And then like I didn't realize how scene for scene it was until I actually watched the movie, and I'm like, okay, this is just weird. So
I know the other song you're talking about is where Seymour gets how he talks about how he got the plant at that China shop.
Yes, that's the one, because I had the door open a little bit and Charlie heard the song and I paused it because my food came, and he's just like, all I can think about is that song from Family Guy.
Oh, yeah. See what happens in that song. What it was is they made into a parody on Family Guy. What they did is they changed it to Mort.
Yeah.
And they pretty much do the whole scene from how Seymour's talking about how he got the plant, but it's talking about how Mort got into the time machine.
Yeah. That's the one where they went back to the 40s.
To World War II.
Yeah, and they had to find their way back, and they had to get uranium.
Yeah, it was during the year. Yeah, but besides that, yes, they did a couple of those from Little Shop of Horrors, and like I said, I think it's a good movie. But when it came out, it never got good positive reviews. I don't think it ever made back its box office debut. But I think with time, it got better for people because they know it's cheesy. They know it's like the story doesn't make sense. But I think that's one thing about pop culture is bad movies come better with age.
I mean, you do have like the movies that are considered like cult classics. So like, for example, The Princess Bride is considered a cult classic. Ghost Stories, that's also considered which if y'all don't know, we'll be doing a video on that later, but that's a really weird anime with the dubbing. But that's considered a cult classic. So this is considered a cult classic too. And like, I don't know, like I don't know why I've never watched it until now. It might have just been the name horror is in the name, and the word horror is in the name. I'm just not a very big fan of horror stuff, so I just kind of stay away from that stuff. I don't like it.
And I kept telling you it wasn't really scary.
No, there really wasn't a whole lot of blood either.
So, like, right there then.
But, I mean, I did enjoy it. I don't know why it took me so long to watch it.
I don't know, a lot of people...
A lot of people what?
I don't know, a lot of people say that. Maybe they just didn't have the time.
If you guys hear that, that's my dog. Just ignore him.
Alright, we get it. You want to be in part of the show. Call our agent.
But, I mean, I don't really think there's anything else we really need to talk about.
I just say it's pretty good. I give it a 5 stars. I give it a 10 out of 10. And I like the music.
I would probably give it like an 8.5 out of 10. Just because of the cheesiness of it.
Alright, fair enough.
But, I mean, 4 stars for me.
Alright. right, let's get to our.
Next.
Before we head out, we want to say we do have 11 subscribers. We need 89 more to get to our 100. To
Our 100 subscriber list.
If you do that, we're going to be showing our faces, and we're going to cosplay. And one way, I'm going to dress as Lady Sanane, which how I look like an ugly woman if I put a wig on. Can't even get a free drink.
I'm gonna have fun with that.
Yeah, and you're gonna look like Gordon from Black Clover. Yeah, you're gonna look like Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, I haven't seen Black Clover yet, so. Okay, so next week's hint is do the time warp
again.
So I'm pretty sure y'all probably have figured out what next week's episode is gonna be about.
And if you're not, you're gonna find out next week. So.
And this is also another movie I haven't seen yet, but I will be seeing.
Which I have.
Yeah. So, anyways, like, subscribe. If there's anything you guys want us to talk about, put it down in the comments below, and we will try to get to it.
Thriller!
Okay, bye, guys.